right, hello everyone. I know I've already said hello to you guys, but hello to you out in internet land. We're glad you're here with us tonight. This is Saturday Night Live Life Recovery, and it's about recovering from all the different things in our life, and we all got different stuff. I had a memorial service today, and it was a young lady. She was 31 years old, and visiting people, talking about her. It was, it's hard. Sometimes there's some really hard things in life, but the good thing of it is there are some things that doesn't have to be so hard, and that's what Saturday night's about, to try to help you to manage these things in your life. And whether it's drugs or alcohol or any other messiness, we're here to help you in that. So tonight we're going to be still in step 6. We're going to be going over the area that Lisa has selected, and that's removing deeper hurts. And that's correct, right? All right, I better hope so, because I've been working on it. And and a related topic that I'm going to be talking about later on is why resentment lasts and how to defeat it. So I think it's going to be an interesting night. We've had some really good topical information the last several weeks. I think it's been very beneficial. So and now we got the two giant pros here to help us, Lisa and Zach. So I think it's going to be really great. Yes? Thumbs up? Yeah, all right. Okay. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm going to turn this over to our MC, and that's Zach.
Yay, Zach.
Yes, yay, Zach.
All right, welcome to Saturday Night Live. We're glad you're here, and we're gonna get started. So, kid had to work this evening, so I'm going to be reading the steps. So we're going to get right to it here. Step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, which is what we're working on tonight, we were entirely ready to have God remove all of our defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. So that'd be the 12 steps, and we work out of the Life Recovery step book here, and we like that. We provide that here in the meeting if you attend the meeting. So we encourage you to come on down every Saturday night, it's usually 7 to 9, but we've been getting out a little bit early lately, so usually about 7 to 8:30. So we'd love to have you, and the steps is just a small part of what we do here, but the steps are important, and we continue to work on them. They're not just one and done. So without further ado, we're going to have Lisa. She's going to come give us a step tonight. Please welcome Lisa.
Yay.
right, step 6. We became entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 6 is a pause step. Here we reflect on the information we have received about ourselves in completing steps 4 and 5 by making an inventory of ourselves and admitting our faults and shortcomings out loud to another person. We have come a long way in developing a more accurate view of ourselves, in building deeper trust in God, and in recognizing the impact of our addictions and dependencies on ourselves and those around us. Our work is not done here. However, inventory is just the first half of the process through which, if we are thorough, we will walk away from debilitating addiction. Now we begin to allow God's Spirit to work deeply in our hearts, rooting out our defects of character and making changes in our behavior and attitudes that will bring wholeness and serenity. So that's just a little excerpt from our Life Recovery Bible or workbook on step 6. And so I was kind of looking at that and talking about, in the workbook, it has some questions, and it was asking about what deeper problems did my addiction shelter from my awareness. And it says, and then another question is, am I ready to have these defects removed by God? And so it made me kind of start thinking about what we've been working on, the other steps up to this point. And I started thinking a little bit about that inventory that we do. And that I just kind of had this visualization in my head. So if you'll bear with me, we're gonna do a little inventory here. And so I'm gonna go digging around in my bag of life. And I have a few things in here. Here I have some Teddy Grahams, right, sweet, they're honey flavor, so those are nice, good, right, safely sealed in a nice little package. Let's see. I also have, in my bag of life, 3 of these little cuties, little oranges that we have. Got those are nice, pretty, healthy, right? They're good for you. I have a kiwi. Interesting. Not everybody's cup of tea, so a little fuzzy, kind of scary, but still pretty good. And then I got to looking, and I also have in my inventory here these bananas. Pretty bruised, pretty battered, pretty rotten. So I got to thinking about what this inventory means, what it looks like. So we've been learning about ourselves, and so I kind of thought about taking this inventory and applying it to me. And you know, if I were to walk up to the shelf right now and go pick one of these items, if I'm being honest, I'm gonna go for the Teddy Grahams, okay? That's gonna be my choice of snack right off. But much like the things in our life, those instant fixes, they have very little substance, and when put up against pressure, they crumble pretty easy, leaving crumbs behind. Much like the substances or the behaviors that we use in our life. So I started thinking about that and applying that to the things in my life. Looks good, package looks nice, tastes kind of nice for a while, but it's not gonna hold me over or sustain me for a very long time. So, got to thinking about some of the other things in here. I'll start with the cutie, okay? It's really pretty, smells good, right? Soft, nice, easy shape, you know, small size, but also has a really tough outer rind. And when pushed just the right way, it's gonna squirt citrus acid all over your face and in your eyes, and you're gonna get on your fingers, and then, you know, you're gonna start crying because you got all this juice everywhere, right? So it looks good, but to get to the good stuff, you gotta peel off that hard, rough, nasty outer side. So you gotta do some work to get to the good stuff here. And then our kiwi, again, it's kind of fuzzy, right? Turns most people off. They don't want to touch it. Kind of prickly, right? Got to thinking about my life. There's many times that I'm prickly just to keep people away, right? That prickly, rough, outer edge is protecting a sweet fruit. It's very good for you, very healthy. But most people never get to it because they can't get past that prickly outer edge. So, kind of thought about, real quick, just kind of cut that open. So you can see, right? Nice, sweet, juicy, smells great, tastes great. But most people never get that far. And then I started thinking about these rotten bananas. Not ever gonna be my first choice when I look at this shelf full of goods. Not gonna be the thing that I go for, not gonna be the thing that I want, right? And it looks brown, feels squishy, right? Yeah, it's yucky. I got people over going, ew, gross. And the outer layer is even still kind of tough. You gotta work through it. You gotta peel out the layer. Sometimes even peel it off piece by piece, layer by layer. But yet, in the midst of that brown nastiness, you find that white fruit. Sweet, good to eat, and interestingly enough, the most nutritious thing on the table. Not only that, not only does it nourish your body, but it can also be reused. Even at this stage, you can take the banana, you may not want to eat it, but you may want to smash it up, put it in a smoothie, make some banana bread with it. It's got lots of purposes in your life, but most people see the brown outer edge and throw it away. So, when we start talking about removing those deeper hurts, sometimes we gotta be willing to peel out those outer edges, those things that hurt, that may make us cry if they get in the eye, or the prickly outer edge that keeps everybody from coming around to see all the sweet fruit inside. But sometimes we gotta look at that rotten, bruised skin, get on the inside, and start figuring out why we never picked it in the first place. Find that hurt. What is it? Was it fear? Maybe it was just as simple as you were distracted by something shiny. Or maybe you used the shiny distraction so you didn't have to look at the healthy banana. Right? But the banana on this table, even in its current form, is the one thing that will give you the most energy and the most strength and the most nourishment to keep you sustained and healthy. So when we talk about removing those deeper hurts, sometimes you just gotta be willing to start looking at that inventory. And it's okay to say, I got a table full of fruit, but it's even better to go, wonder what's on the inside. Open the packages, get a little deeper. Look into those things in your inventory. Don't just count the items on the shelf. So, that's what I got.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome, thank you.
You leave your book up there for me. All right, let's give Lisa another hand. That was good.
She's a fruit teacher.
She's a fruit teacher.
Right on, Lisa.
That could be taken multiple ways.
Yay.
I'll take it in either way.
But
Okay.
it's been a while since we got to have illustration like that. It's nice to be back in the room. So I'm doing the reflection tonight. That was good, Lisa, thank you. So we're working on step 6, and we're tremendously excited,
Yes.
right? It's character defects. All right. I got some stuff on my phone here, so forgive that. If you haven't silenced your cell phone, I forgot that earlier, I just got started. All right, get everything going here. Good to see everybody tonight. All right, so we became entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. I wanted to read it correctly because I usually quote it wrong. So, who's lining up for that? Who wants to be first?
You do.
Does that sound painful to anybody else? Sounds like there's some surgery involved in that to me. Right? You know? Character defects, that's not like, like a physical defect or that's a character defect. That's kind of like a your fault defect, right? Because that goes back to your character, or if you're like me, if you have if you've had a lack of character in the past. And, so, I found something by Joyce Meyer I wanted to read here. I'm gonna get to my questions really quick. Okay. And this is from her book, Beauty for Ashes. It's a book about a lot of things, but it's about trauma and abuse and things like that. It's a good book. But she's talking about, I guess I'll read the question first, because that might make more sense. So the question I'll start with tonight is, what difficulty, again, we're doing removing deeper hurts, and the question number 2 I'm going to start with is, what difficulty have I suffered due to the lack of forgiveness or compassion for others? And this excerpt from her book says, Joyce writes, "First, let me say that it is not possible to have good emotional health while harboring bitterness, resentment, and unforgiveness. Harboring unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping your enemy will die." Anybody ever done that?
Unfortunately.
She goes on and says, "Unforgiveness poisons anyone who holds it." So if you're thinking that you can hold on to it and you got it by the tail and it's not hurting you, and you're stronger than the rest of us, you're kidding yourself. Unforgiveness poisons anyone who holds it, causing him or her to become bitter, and it is impossible to be bitter and get better at the same time. So, this step can be a hard step. And one thing about the steps, I don't think we say enough, is that, they're not one and done. We need to keep working the steps. You do what you can, and you go around again. You're not going to get rid of all your character defects. God's a gentleman. He's going to show you some stuff right now that you can handle. And then next time around, he'll show you some more stuff you can handle because you can't handle it right now. And that doesn't mean that you didn't do any work last time or that your work doesn't count. Some people fall into that. If they got to work on the same thing again, or this area again, they think, oh, well, I didn't do any work, or I didn't do good enough work, or it didn't matter, or it didn't count, or I backslid or something. The truth is that this stuff's like an onion. You know, and you had an onion and you see that bad spot, and so you peel a little bit away, and then the bad spot's bigger, and then it's bigger, and then it's bigger, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. That's how this stuff is. So don't fall into that hole where your work didn't count, it counted. Just know that you're healthier, and you're better, and you can handle more. Congratulations, isn't that great?
All right.
Aren't you excited? But, you know, some of these character defects that you, that all of a sudden you don't like anymore, they're part of your survival. You know, we were talking last week about survival. We've been talking about survival for a while, you know. Nobody walks up to you and taps you on the shoulder and tells you that you're safe now, you can stop surviving. You know, you don't get a letter in the mail, you don't get a memo that tells you, hey, the way you're acting and living, you don't need to do that anymore, and if you keep doing it, it's going to mess up your good life. You need to get a new operating system. Your old operating system on survival doesn't work when you're safe and you have a good life. Because if you keep living and acting that way, then that destroys your safe, good life. You ready to follow me? You know, because if you're out on the street, or you're out doing all the bad stuff you used to do, you know, living that way, you can act that way when, you know, you're okay, when you're safe, when, you know, no one's after you and you're not running and you're trying to live life on life's terms. But, so, let's go on here. What deeper problems did my addiction shelter from my awareness? And I list several things here. So I don't like the way that's worded there very well. It's kind of confusing to me. What deeper problems did my addiction shelter from my awareness, my pride, my ego, my fear, my anger, my hatred, the arrogance of believing that life should go the way I want? So did you ever believe that everything should just go the way you think it should go? You had it all figured out, you know, because you're God. That's not what we thought, you know, but we just knew better than everybody around us, right? Because you never really think that way. You just kind of talk and act that way, but you don't hear yourself that way, you know. And that's really a safety mechanism, because if everything around you changes to fit you, then you never have to change. You ever thought about that? The scary part about that is that if you never have to change, then you never get any better. And you never heal.
That's good.
And you never stop hurting. You may deny it. You may hide it. You may think you got everybody fooled. But if everything changes to fit you, then you never stop hurting, you never heal, the pain never goes away. You stay alone, even though everybody's around you. Nobody ever really knows you because you only let them in skin deep. Am I ready to have these defects removed by God? Why or why not? And I had this thought when I read that. It was kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and I kind of, to myself, I kind of yelled, no, they're my defects. You can't have them, they're mine. They're who I am. They make me up. I've had them for a long time. They've been here a lot longer than you have. That may be that's probably what we think, right? Who am I going to be without them? I don't like them. They rob me of my life. They run people off. They make me alone. I actually hate them. They're part of the reason why I hate myself. But they're all I know. Who am I going to be without them if I give them up? What's life going to be like if I give them up? Did you say something? Huh?
A whole better person.
A whole better person, you're right. But I don't know what that looks like.
I'm learning.
Huh?
I'm learning.
You're learning. That's good. I'm glad. But that's not always easy.
No.
And
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
shoulda, coulda, woulda. You gotta be careful of that though, because one of my favorite people, speakers, he says, if you're not careful, you'll shit all over yourself. You get to beating up on yourself because you should have done that, or you should have done this, or you wish you would have done that. It can become something that you beat yourself up with.
I'm very, if I can change it, I'll change it. If I can fix it, I can fix it. I can't do nothing about it, that's let it go.
Yeah, that's good. That's kind of a version of the serenity prayer. Yeah.
Good.
It's good. Thanks for the comments.
Thank you. Well,
So I know that Doug says that we need to be quiet and stuff but it's okay to have interaction and talk and share. That's okay. We just need to be mindful of this is good. This is helpful. It's me crackling a bag of chips and opening a soda and not caring if it distracts somebody. That's the difference. I guess I just wanted to end tonight by encouraging everybody to give themselves some grace and mercy. I don't want to, just to give a disclaimer, not that I should have to, but I'm not that I can give anybody permission, because I'm not God, okay? But sometimes we have to do damage control, and we have to kind of cover ourselves a little bit. I'm not giving anybody permission to whatever. But I just want to encourage everybody to give themselves some grace and mercy, that as you're working on getting better, your recovery, healing, whatever that might be, to have some grace and mercy for yourself and others. Because nobody's walking your journey but you. And there's plenty of people out there in the recovery world and outside it, church, whatever, everywhere, every community, who will tell you how they did it, how they think you should do it. And it's not that you can't learn anything from them, and you should if you can, but you got to do what works for you. I'm not saying lie to yourself. We've all done plenty of that. We know when we're doing that. So, we talk about not co-signing other people's, a real friend does not co-sign your bullshit, right? Do not co-sign your own bullshit. We do that too, don't we? So, but have some grace and mercy for yourself. And know that God has grace and mercy for you. And He's not waiting to smack you. He loves you. He gets it more than you know. More than they know. And if you have somebody telling you you're doing it wrong, you're probably healthier than they are. All right? So, that's what I got for tonight for reflection. So, thank you. Without further ado, it's time for Doug. Please welcome Doug.
Yeah, Doug.
All right, well, thank you, Zach and Lisa, for that information, and Rick for your comment there. That was good. Appreciate that. And yes, if you have a comment that is for the group, that's welcomed. Okay. I wanna hit here with where we're at, and then I'm gonna ask if there's any other comments. But I just wanted to touch on the step information that we were going over, and the topic, it was about removing deeper hurts, and the scriptural reference that was in the Life Recovery Bible was Jonah 4, verse 4 and 8. And I'm just going to give you a synopsis of kind of what was going on here. But when you were talking about a character defect, Zach, Jonah had a character defect. Okay, he was a good guy. Okay, he was a preacher too. He was a man of God. But you know what? Sometimes, well, no, that's not right. Most of the time, that's probably closer, right? Now, all the time, we have character defects, and that we're working on them. Would you agree with that, Rick? Yeah. And so, and the trouble is, as we talked about, I think maybe last week, we have blind spots to our defects, right?
Yep.
Those things that we have a bias towards or for. And we don't realize that we got stinking thinking, right?
Yep.
And so what we have to do is we have to recognize that we need to take a look at ourselves, and that's what we're talking about here out of the steps, taking a look at our character defects. Okay, and this question was, am I ready? Question number 3. And this was out of our page 56. Out of the Life Recovery Workbook. It says, am I ready to have the defects removed by God? Now, we're talking about Jonah here, just trying to finish this up. Jonah had a problem, we recognize it as a problem. He didn't see it as a problem, okay? He knew some people that were bad people and that treated the Jewish people bad. And he not only didn't like them, he hated them. Okay? And he thought what God ought to do was destroy them. And God wanted to minister to them. In fact, he wanted to save them. And so he told Jonah, isn't it kind of interesting? You think about this, he's talking about growing through your defects. Jonah wanted those people to die, and so God gave him an assignment to go and tell him how to get right and how to live. And Jonah says, no, I'm not going. I don't want to. I know what's going to happen. They're going to repent. You're going to forgive them, and they'll be all right. I want them dead.
I'm Jonah. It all makes sense now.
You know, and you know, it's kind of like the object lesson you was given with the fruits. You know, they look bad inside or they're prickly. I thought that was pretty neat. Prickly, and I don't want to have anything to do with that type of thing. And so in fact, as far as I'm concerned, you can just throw it away. Let's destroy it, basically. And that's what Jonah was saying about the people from Nineveh. And so he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm not going to go. In fact, I'm going to go the other way. And that's when he got thrown overboard and he ended up inside of a well or a giant fish. And in fact, my daughter said that she found something, believe it or not, on TikTok about somebody that had actually been swallowed by a whale. And then it spit them out. And I guess it's recently. I haven't seen the information yet. But are you familiar with that? So
I've heard about it, I haven't seen it yet.
and so, anyway, she told her mother told me. So anyway, it seems like I'd heard that before, but I haven't verified that fact, but, you know, we'll see. Check it out on TikTok. No, you don't have to. You probably already know it. So anyway, Jonah went the wrong, he chose to go a different way. Boy, does that sound like anybody you know? No, not you guys, but somebody else.
Oh, no, it's totally me.
And you was talking about doing our own thing, our own way, that, you know, you know, God, it's my way, or I'm gonna hit the highway, and God says you can run, but you can't hide, right? How does that work out for us, trying to run and hide?
I'm gonna hit the highway.
Yeah, 4 flat tires, and then you hit the detour, and you get back sent back to the beginning. I was going to say, you go to jail, don't pass go, you know.
Or
Maybe
you get stuck in gridlock traffic where you have no choice but to stop and think about what you've done.
Yeah, and but my point I'm trying to get to is, actually the scripture didn't even talk about that part, but he finally, when he was vomiting up on the bank, he preached to the people, even though he didn't want to, and yes, they repented, and Jonah got mad, still mad. I mean, they repented and he still was mad, okay? And he went up on the hill waiting on for God to get him, and God didn't get him. Well, he did get him, but he got him saved. His grace was sufficient, and he was mad. But God, this is so good. God even had grace on a hard-headed, resentful preacher, and he was hot, so a leafy plant grew and gave him shade from the hot sun. And the Bible says that Jonah was very grateful for that. But then the next morning, a worm ate through the stem and it wilted. And now he's mad again. Now he's mad at God. He's mad about what's went on. And he says, how can you be grateful about having a plant shelter you, which you didn't have anything to do with, and you're not even interested in some people, like bruised bananas. Okay, and so anyway, and the point here is Jonah didn't recognize his defect. In fact, he probably was proud of his defect, if truth be told, okay? Because it was his defect. Don't mess with my defect. Of course, he didn't say defect. You know, I have a right to be this way because.
Righteous, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, that's any comments on our step teaching, step work? Anybody have any other comments before I go into talking about resentment? Isn't that great? Anybody?
Yay.
Any comments?
Yay, resentment.
Okay. Okay. And so, anyway, I thought that was good information. Thank you, guys. And so, the topic, and actually this is right out, this is off the internet. This was psychologytoday.com that I found this. It's several years old, but I thought it's applicable. Now, the problem here tonight with this information is it can be a little challenging, so you need to listen to it, but listen. I was gonna say, listen, but don't make any judgments. That's what I was gonna say. Don't listen, and don't make any quick judgments.
It's Kiwi night.
And it starts off, the prickliness maybe starts off in the beginning here a little bit. And and the title is Why Resentments Last. Well, I think we already kind of discussed that because we hold on to them, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And also the last half of this, or last portion of it, is how to feed it. So resentments could linger for the rest of your life unless you confront it. Right? This isn't prickliness yet.
I was gonna say, I think we know how to feed it.
They will stay there until you be willing to confront it. Of course, but you have to be aware of it before you can confront it. Does that make sense? But most of you, if you would just add your statement about the prickliness and the kiwi, if you can just be observant about those folks around you, you may have an idea that maybe it has something to do with my prickliness.
Or the lack of the folks around you.
Or the lack of folks around you. Maybe, just maybe.
Or the fact that when you go and try to hang out with folks, they all kind of go, oh no, watch out, be careful. You can see the fear in their faces when you walk in the room.
Everybody goes looking at their watches. I think I gotta go.
Yeah, it's time to go.
So the statement is, I resent that. The statement is, that's how they start this information out. I resent that. And you can hear that as a point blank statement that someone might make. Now, this is where it may get to be a little challenging here, and that is philosophers, you'll like it, but I just want you to listen to it. Philosophers have made a case that such a statements are good. So those statements are good. And what does that mean? Is that according to philosophers, that these philosophers say that knowing that you have the resentment means that you have enough self-respect and you're not willing to take people that will cross your boundaries. So they're saying that, according to philosophers, that this is a healthy behavior. So this person that has that type of resentment, now I know, hang on, we're not done yet. This is the first part. We're starting off with the rough one here. But listen to what he's saying. The philosopher is saying, this is out of the research, that resentment shows that a person like that has high moral character and who knows right from wrong, okay, and that they know what they need to do. Now, psychologists, we're going to shift to the other side of the pendulum.
My people.
Now, psychologists say that they kind of disagree with this, and so because they say that the contrast of that they get worried about people that have resentments, okay, because people get stuck in those resentments, and you get stuck in those resentments, like we're talking about, not holding on to them, not letting them go, not dealing with them, and that it can become a unhealthy response to injustice. Quote, end of quote. And so we can have a healthy response, an unhealthy response to injustice. In other words, you could be overreact, act quickly. Your injustice that just you could be suffering injustices that won't quit, and so you react to that. you may have someone in your life that, that's making, continual demands that is too much, and you're resenting that, so you have a continual reaction. Instead of dealing with it, you're resenting it. And that resentment can also can develop a long-term anger that may be mild to extremely deeper relationship, and can linger for a long time. And the results of that is that you become unhappy, you can become irrational, irritable, and psychologically compromised. Now, what in the world does psychologically compromised mean? That means that you oftentimes would react and do things in a reactive type form that would not be in your best interest.
No, I don't.
You know, blow up, hurt yourself, hurt somebody else, react, maybe the exercise scorched earth type mentality for an extreme. But you also have extreme anxiety and depression. So that anxiety and depression, you're inflicting that upon yourself. Okay. All right, that's what psychology says. So philosopher says, well, there's some good things in it. Psychology says, well, now there's a lot of things that can be go really haywire. All right, okay. Okay, so let's go on. So if we, this is right out of the information, so if we can keep the philosopher's resentment and banish the psychologist, that might be a better action, right? So, but the trouble is, most of us oftentimes kind of get buried in the psychologist aspect of what they're talking about. But there's also, the point here from the philosopher, there's also some good nuggets in there that you could turn those things around. But the trouble is, we have we have developed some unhealthy coping mechanisms, and which tonight we're calling those defects. Does that sound acceptable? Okay. Let's see. Yet it's not easy, especially because these resentments don't know when to leave. I think it's kind of interesting. They kind of put it in a third person perspective that that it just and they want to check in, but they don't want to check out. But if they check in and stay too long, they can take over the psychological house. Okay? So
They become the filter you see everything else through.
Yeah, that's good. They become the filter that you see everything through. And we're going to go to identity here in a moment, and that's basically what you're talking about. You take on a resentful identity. So good. So this is again challenging information. Okay. So okay so far. All right. Okay. All right. So what is this? Well, they've got some things to consider. They got 3 reasons here why this happens this way. The first one is, and this is these 3 reasons are kind of explain what's kind of going on here. Okay, and then I have 5 approaches to help us to maybe work through some of this. So hang on, and we'll get through this, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to you. Okay, the first reason here on why this happens is, now this probably makes sense to you on the first one, is that when we feel irritated, or we've been offended, or there's been a wrong done, the first response is we react and then we have an initial euphoria. We feel powerful because we've done something, which is not all bad. But then we have this response, and so we get hooked on this euphoria. And not only do we have euphoria, but we feel stronger, which is not a bad thing, okay? But the fact of it is, we get hooked on this. So we say, well, if it worked good in this, then it ought to work good on everything, right? Does that make sense? Isn't that the way our brain works? So we say, this is how I want to react because this is my reward. So I have euphoria, I feel good, and also I feel strong. Okay, that's why we have chosen these resentments. Okay, am I making the connection? This is why we would choose a resentment. Okay, number 2, on the whys, it says that once we realize that the euphoria is a short-term effect in our life, okay? Because it's going to run out on us. It has negative side effects, okay? And so this resentment, it affects us because we have the euphoria, but we continually have to deal with these problems. So we're always in the fight mode or defense mode. We're always fight, flight, or faint type of reaction. We're always in the taking action, and we're starting to realize that this resentment has side effects. Okay, what does that mean? Well, you say, well, what we all need to do is we need to use other ways to deal with our resentments, in which I agree. And listen to what I have to say, and that is, they made a suggestion about maybe exercise or jogging to help alter our chemical reaction inside our system so that it's not negatively affecting us, which is true. But the only problem is, after you've exercised or did relaxation techniques to calm yourself down, it comes back. Why? Because you have practiced a method of thinking of resentment. Okay, let me explain that. They used a story about someone that they knew, and this is out of the material, so it's not about anybody in here or out there. It's somebody that we have no clue, okay? But they in the article, they said they knew a person that when they got up in the morning, to get them ready for their day, they ginned up this resentment about things to help fire them up, to get them prepared to go out and fight the day, so to speak. Does that make sense? Right? Well, I mean, we understand that's what, if the only tool you know is resentment, you keep using it, right? And see, the thing of it is, if I feel weak, and I found that resentment made me feel a little better and feel stronger, then what I'll do is I'll think about what I'm going to do how I'm going to react in traffic, what I'm going to do in the parking lot when I get to work, what I'm going to do to fight for my position in the elevator, what I'm going to do when I get to the office, what I'm going to do on, you can use all these different things to stir yourself up and live in that constant state of anger. Does that make sense? And what that does to you, continually taking these shots of adrenaline, it negatively affects you, right? It affects you mentally, emotionally, and physically. And that adrenaline drains off, quick. And when it drains off, guess what? You feel worse than you did before you engaged that. So the problem here is, number two, is that we keep using a system that depletes us. Did I explain that well enough? Did that make sense?
So what I'm hearing you say is that resentment is actually a big stick of marble dynamite wrapped in a shiny bow, and we are all excited to grab it while it's ticking.
And we use it, and it's blowing pieces of us off every time we use it.
And the thing I'm trying not to do, which is let people know that I'm vulnerable and they can hurt me, because I'm flaring up and going, hey, look at me, and you can't hurt me, all the while telling them all the ways they can.
Telling them all the ways that you,
By standing up, throwing a fit and saying, you can't hurt me like this, you actually are just instructing them on how to hurt you.
yeah,
These are all the ways you can hurt me.
yeah, right, yes, yeah, and so, and now we're gonna get to the identity perspective that we were talking about, the third reason why we do what we do, and it's probably, as they say, is the most sinister, and that this resentment becomes a part of your identity, okay? In other words, a person who you, how you see yourself as that person. You take that point of view about yourself. Not that you have resentments, okay, but now you're not a person with resentments. You are a person that is that resentful type of person. It's your identity. It's not what you've done. Now it's almost what we call a character trait. That's not what they call it, but that's what I'm going to call it. It's become a character trait of behavior because you've behaved so long. It's not just a behavior. Now it's a trait. It's a pattern in your life that's running your life. And that you see it as, you see yourself that way. Now, if we go all the way back to Jonah, Jonah thought that was right, what he was doing, and he fought everybody, including God, about his point of view. Okay, this is right, I know it's right, there's no deviation in this. You're wrong, because I know I don't like those people. And so they need all to be punished. And even when he was shown grace and mercy, and he was thankful for that, he continued that same behavior. Now, the interesting thing of the book, that's when it closes. Okay, it closes with that same state. I don't know what happened after that to him. Okay, I would say God continued to work with him. That's pretty strong, and thank God for His grace and His everlasting mercy. But now I don't know. All I know is from my reference point, which may or may not be good. That if I don't get it in this lesson, it goes up a notch. And I get another lesson. And if I don't get it there, it goes up a notch. And I get another lesson. Right? So that's my take on that. So, but the third reason here, and it's the very end here, is that the familiar, the trouble is that we have is the familiar is better, a better alternative, we think, than what we want to shift into. Even though the familiar is painful, even though it's uncertain, even though I know I'm going to have suffering, but that's what I know. So as Zach said earlier, I don't want to change. And because because my suffering, painful existence, I know what that is. But the question is, do you really want to be stuck in that? Because just because you don't know that there could be a better side, if the Holy Spirit is bringing these things to your attention, then probably there's a better side.
So you're telling me that if Lisa keeps being angry, Lisa becomes an angry being?
I did say that. It's not me saying this. It's the information here that is saying this. But I have to agree with that. That's a good possibility. So and that we, even though there's a lot of safety and security in continuing to do what we've always done, it continues to take from us and affect us, and that this, if our awareness is that we recognize this as a defect, then maybe we ought to look at a way to eliminate this unwanted guest in our life. How's that? Did I work my way out of that hole? And so what do we do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Isn't that great? And so we have 5 approaches here. So try to see the inner worlds of the one causing your disruption. Wow. Who come up with that approach?
Is that like saying, put yourself in their shoes?
That's, I think that's about what it was saying. You know, see it from their perspective, put it in their shoes, you know, walk a mile in their sandals, you know, that type of thing is try to look at their world from their perspective, what's going on, and maybe, just maybe, that person is carrying a big burden of resentment themselves, which probably is a pretty good bet. And that perhaps they are living in a large measure of bitterness, and they're being tore up and eaten up. And if you could see that, you might, because you may have an idea what that does to a person, you might be able to have some grace on them, and that you might be able to then respond in a different way. And you can see, now this is an interesting statement here, you can see their woundedness within that person that wounded you. How about that? I didn't die through that one, so okay. So what? Yeah, you could see, if you'll look. See, because oftentimes when we are in resentments, we're so defensive and trying to guard our own stuff and keep ourselves safe that we don't take time to see maybe what's going on in the other person. And if we can do that, and if we could look at their world, and maybe, yes, maybe they wounded us, but maybe we can see that they're a wounded person. You know. So, second approach, commit to doing no harm. How about that? Commit to doing no harm. Well, that's big. That's big.
Very powerful.
Yeah, commit to doing no harm to the one that harmed you. That's even. Yeah. I felt that one. How about you? I felt that one. Okay, well, let's read that one again. Commit to do no harm to the one who is harming you. How about that? That's hard. But if we can do that, if we can allow this to work in our life, you know, that's all doing to others as you'd have them doing to you, instead of don't mistreat them before they have a chance to mistreat you. That's kind of the resentment golden rule, right? Yes, sir.
We're talking about not had a situation, on a job where, I had a boss that was just going after me, attacking me, and I really hadn't done anything but my job. And, you know, I would like to say that I wasn't participating, but I was, you know, I think I was, but I was. And, but I was participating the right way. I was following policy and procedure, okay?
You just keeping the rules,
Yeah, I was keeping the
because
rules.
you're the rule keeper.
And that made it okay.
That made it right.
And so, and then.
I was being sarcastic in case anybody missed it.
But it's true.
But it's true,
And.
but it was still with sarcasm.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's true. So, I'm trying to hurry. So, but you messed with me there. So, you're sure fault.
Would you like to come up here and say?
No. So, I just wanted to share this story because it's everything we were talking about. And because it's hard, but it's not impossible. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And, I mean, I was hurt really bad by everything that was going on. And I was just getting completely screwed, you know. And, I was trying really hard to see things from their perspective, but I was failing miserably. And I think God allowed me to see this individual get mistreated by their superior. And I saw it. And I was like, well, no wonder. You know. And in that moment, when I witnessed it, I tried to help. And they took the help. Things weren't okay, they took the help. And a couple days later, I went in and I said, hey, I know you want to talk to me, and I know that you may just fire me. And you may not believe me, but you'll see, I'll do no more harm. And I'm letting you know that I'm going to do no more harm. And I walked away thinking, well, I probably won't make the day. And we have a great relationship. You know, that was a couple, 3 years ago now, and people are scared, you know, because they don't understand it, you know, and this stuff will change your life. It's not just a bunch of
Hooey, how about that?
not a bunch of hooey. It's not.
Linda's gonna love you for
Yeah,
that.
you're trying to help me with Linda, thank you. It's not a bunch of just nice stuff that if we could do it, you know, you just pull out of a fortune cookie or read it, you know, I mean, it is really powerful stuff if you will give it a chance, you know, and it is hard.
It is hard.
But it's not impossible, but if you will give it a chance, it will change your life.
We have a higher nature and a lower nature, and most of the time we want to live out of our lower nature.
Yes.
And you may or may not understand what that means, but basically, we've been talking about this living in the land of resentment is having a lot to do with your lower nature, and trying to come out of that. What these suggestions are suggesting how to come out of that and live in a better way. And as you said, you were keeping the rules, but you saw something and it made an effect in you, and it moved you, and even though you was keeping the rules, you said that you would do no more harm. And so sometimes we can keep the rules, but also have a negative effect. You know, it's kind of like the scripture says, the letter killeth, but the spirit brings life. And so the final statement on this was that when you do this, it can bring a new kind of inner strength into us. And it affected you, affected that person, and it affected everybody else. and to the place they don't understand it. And that could have to do with this inner strength that they're talking about here, out of this information out of psychology today. So number 3, it says, stand in the pain. Interesting statement, right? Stand in the pain so that you do not pass it to innocent others. So basically, you kind of just demonstrate that in a sense when you saw what was going on. You recognized that that yes, it's painful, but I'm not going. I understand something now that I didn't understand before, and I was able to. You were able to hold. This is a term. Hold space in this that actually helped you and helped that person. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay. And so that is a scripture just popped in my mind. Says stand and stand therefore, right? And that's what that means. And I know there's been times in my life that scripture in the middle of a emotional dilemma, which I would have called then it a fight, because I would have preferred to have fought or just totally withdrawn. But I felt like this scripture came into my heart by the Holy Spirit and said, stand and stand therefore. And that is so challenging because it's not of that lower nature
At all.
at all. Yeah.
Lower nature is easy.
But it's not, there's destructive side effects to it. How about that? I'll try to use that terminology. Number 4, all right, science has identified a powerful resentment buster. How about that? Sound good? Science has identified a powerful resentment buster. Anybody want to know what a powerful resentment buster might be?
Yes.
Prayer.
Well, that is a good one, but they have been doing for the last several years, doing some research in this area, and what they're talking about here is forgiveness. Okay, forgiveness, and that is according to scientific research. Now, believe it or not, scientific research that it will bust resentment. Because and we're basically, in a sense, been already talking about that, but for choosing to forgive and offer goodness, which is basically what you were talking about a while ago, offering goodness to the one who gave you that unwanted present that you got, that hurt, that pain, and that you felt that resentment about. So we need to offer that forgiveness and being able to see their woundedness, be able to see maybe what's pushing them or driving them, what's causing them. Because painful people, people that hurt people are in pain, and they need some help. They need some love. They need some forgiveness. And if we are not forgiving them, this is not in their information, but if we're not forgiving them, then basically we're either hating them or accusing them or cursing them. And so what we're doing is actually adding more, or either psychically or spiritually or physically trying to add harm to them. How's that sound? And so rather than having clenched fists or clenched jaws, okay, maybe we should offer forgiveness and a softened heart. And when we do that, the one that has affected you then you affect them. What do you think about that? Number 5. We even want to hit my target. So number 5, finally. That's what it says, finally. And so it says, finally, be open to a new identity. Now that's big. Can you, any of us, can I see myself differently? Is it possible? Do I have to live the way that I've always behaved? Do I have to act out of this resentment, this feeling? Can I see myself differently? Could I see myself in a better version? Maybe even the best version of myself. Why can't you be different? That's a good question, right? Why can't you be different? Can you say, I am someone who can stand in the pain? Can you say, I am someone who can forgive? I can be a forgiver instead of a hater. How about that? Am I even a person that can say that I can ask I can ask resentment to go and it'll leave? What do you think about that? That's a pretty big statement. But you know what? If we can recognize it, and we can point to it, and we can tell it to go, and we can continue to tell it to go, and then every time it pokes its ugly head up, we can see it, say, yep, I did it again. You need to go. That's a new identity. So which is the better identity? A life lived with unwanted interior guests, okay, that have taken up residency and kind of pushing us around, doing our thinking and stirring up our emotions? Or can we live free and be a conduit of good? I like that. I like their statement here. It's not my statement, it's their statement. A conduit of good towards others and yourself. So if we can do unto others as we want them to do unto us, but don't forget, we need to do unto us in a healthy way, and that helps us to also be able to do that to others. So we need to forgive ourselves, love ourselves, and that will enable us to have a better identity. Comments, questions, anything? All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for being here with us at Saturday Night Live, Life Recovery. Life is messy, it's hard, there's a lot of things going on, but we're here to try to help you manage this messiness, whether it's with prayer or contact or information, support. We're interested in helping, and we have our meeting here that we do every Saturday night. We're live. We're spaced out, so if you're concerned about being close, you can. We do have masks and hand sanitizer if you want to use that, but we're spaced out. You can have your own space if you want it, so we just welcome you to Saturday Night Live, whether it's in video or in person. We just want to be a help. So thanks for being here with us. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace. Thanks for being with us. Have a good evening or a good day, whatever time zone you're in. So,
I took 3 of your orange juices and 1 of your bags of chips.